I flew to Dushanbe, hoping to cycle the famous Pamir highway, a Soviet-era military road that crosses some of the highest inhabited regions on Earth. I wanted to experience the solitude and challenge myself by cycling at altitudes around 4,000 meters above sea level. And here I am, in a hostel surrounded by other travelers. Was I fooled? Has the Pamir become just another tourist attraction? Maybe, but I quickly discovered that at this time of year, most of people are already finishing their journey. Many have warned me that the season is over. Temperatures have dropped well below zero, and snow already covers the high mountain passes. The next morning I spent in the city center trying to arrange the necessary permits. I couldn't have been more impressed with the city. Modern buildings influenced by Islamic culture, beautiful parks, and construction sites give the impression of the rapidly developing country. Once I had collected all the permits, it was time to move on. Full of worries and doubts, those who just finished the trail reported low air temperatures and snow. Others turned back after what they described as a few very challenging days. People told me about the hazards of high mountains, but nobody mentioned that even getting there will be tough. It's nearly 40 degrees, and I'm looking for any shade and water I can find. But the views, they make me feel that I'm in the right place. It took me 2 days to reach the city of Kula. Between me and Pamir, there was one remaining mountain pass with over 1,500 meters of climbing. I planned an early start to avoid the heat, but the high temperatures and the food from previous days kept me in bed for an entire day.
Assalamu alaikum.
I was incredibly lucky. The cloudy weather provided me with the perfect temperature for a climb that was supposed to take few hours. Once I was on the other side of the mountain, I came across one of the most beautiful valleys I've ever seen. There was well-paved tarmac, steep mountains, and a river that was the only barrier between me and the infamous country of Afghanistan. I knew that after the city of Kalaiku, the road was under construction for about 100 kilometers with long stretches, open only for 1 hour a day and during the night. My strategy was to cover most of it in the late evening hours. However, heavy traffic, poor road conditions, and clouds of dust slowed my progress more than I had expected. With nowhere to sleep, I had no choice but to keep going. It was the longest and the most uncomfortable night of the entire trip. It was a big day yesterday, so I feel like I deserved a chocolate pudding today in the morning. It took a while for the road to start improving again, but my mood was great, and I had a feeling that the adventure was on. It's a bit dusty here, and the road is pretty bad. Oh well, that's what I came here for. I normally don't use cycling gloves. My hands really hurt from all the bumps. I cannot buy any cycling gloves, so I'm gonna make some. My next goal was the major city of the region, Korok. I arrived just before dark and was immediately invited to a traditional dinner by extremely friendly locals. As I found out, they ran their own little museum with the artifacts from the area. They also shared stories about the government repressing them by shutting down the already limited internet for 7 months. Knowing that this was the last big city I would see for at least a week, I decided to stay for a day and enjoy the local restaurants. And the plan for today is to climb to the altitude of 3,000 meters above the sea level and camp there to get a little bit of the acclimatization. Suddenly, some of the most beautiful views unfolded before my eyes. I was still in the Green Valley, but the layer of snow covering the steep mountain faces gave me goosebumps. Am I too late? I met a couple who showed me the snowy pictures of the area where I was heading to. I felt nervous and excited. That was not so bad. The first night on 3,000. Today I will try to climb another 800 meters and camp on 3,008. I actually thought that it was not that cold tonight, but when I came to my bike and I checked my water bottle, I realized that it must have been freezing. The famous one, but the last one, chocolate pudding. A cool place. It seems that it's the last place where I can grab something to eat before it goes up in the mountains. Before I left for my trip, everyone asked me if I was afraid of the people living in those poor countries. Yet, so far, I had only the best experiences, including this man living in the last house before the high mountain pass. When he saw my tent, he came to invite me into his home, worried that I might get cold. These people have so little, yet they share so much. I chose to stay in my tent only because the camping spot was so beautiful. What a nice place! I just spent 11 hours in my tent. I'm so happy to be outside in the sun. But it was nice, it was warm. Not as bad as I expected. Plan for today, climb to my first pass, 4,250 or something. It's instant coffee. It's better than no coffee at all. Sour, but it is coffee, kind of. I still don't know. It's going. I'm mostly moving like 4 or 5 kilometers per hour. I think my lips gonna look dry. It's such a nice feeling to be here. Woohoo! And here I was, in the high Pamirs. For the next 300 kilometers, I was supposed to cycle at altitudes of around 4,000 meters. In this desert-like environment, there were very few villages, each about 100 kilometers apart. For the rest, there was nothing. One of the goals for that trip was to experience the lives of people living in these remote areas of the high Pamir mountains. The few days I spent there were definitely not enough. If I can say anything, it would be that the life there seems very normal. There's a school, shops and a restaurant. And people seem not to be bothered by the winter lasting 7 months a year. Good morning! Welcome to the most exciting day of the whole tour. I'm just leaving Murgab, it's 8 o'clock, and there is a pass ahead of me that is 4,600 meters high. Not far anymore. No, that's my route. Not that far anymore. Somewhere there's a pass. There it is! Oh, it was a hard climb. And it's so windy here. I made it. So I have Pamir highway. Hello, good morning. This might be my last day in Tajikistan. I'm 50 kilometers from the border. Let's go. During the entire trip, I felt like I was racing against time, knowing that winter could arrive at any moment. I must be very close to the Tajik border. It's around 4,200 meters, and I can clearly feel it. It seems like my efforts paid off, as only on my last day did I encounter snow and wind. It is getting pretty chilly here, but at least I'm not sweating. Snowman's land. I already left Tajikistan, but I didn't enter Kyrgyzstan yet. That's the Kyrgyz border down there. I did manage to pass the border controls, although it wasn't certain from the beginning and it cost me a lot of time. Filming at the borders might lead to accusation of spying, so I didn't do it. Goodbye, Pamir! As I quickly discovered after arriving in Saritash, I was not the only traveler there. We were all very tired, but happy to meet one another. I still hadn't booked my return flight, so it was time to decide whether I want to continue my journey, cross the border into China, and try my luck on the Karakorum highway that would take me to Pakistan. I couldn't miss that opportunity. I knew that crossing the border into China wouldn't be easy. So I cycled as close to the border as I could, and I planned to cross it in the morning. I quickly discovered that it was a village made of containers ruled by truck drivers. If I had to pinpoint the moment during the trip when I didn't feel safe, it would be that one. It was recommended to me by internet to sleep in the container. Apparently it's a little bit warmer. I just hope that nobody's gonna lock the container at night. It'll be a bit scary. It was in the middle of the night when I woke up. I heard someone enter the container where I was sleeping. Suddenly there was a disturbance and my tent was surrounded. I quickly reached for my pepper spray and headlamp, only to discover that it was just a few donkeys. Not really better than no coffee. I don't know. Unexpectedly, in the morning, I was joined by Paul, whom I had met in Saritash. We decided to hitchhike to Kashgar in China together. It was the beginning of a friendship that made my entire stay in China more adventurous and exciting. I stayed in Kashgar for 3 days. However, the culture shock I experienced was greater than I expected. Try to imagine that suddenly nobody speaks English. Google Translate stops working. Same with WhatsApp and many other apps. There are cameras everywhere, and the food, cheap but very good food, that after Pamir tastes like heaven. After 3 days, it was time to move on. I hadn't planned on cycling in China because of the heavy police presence everywhere. But meeting a cycling couple from Austria made me change my mind. At least until the traffic got so busy and the wind so strong that I started to worry about my safety. I decided to hitchhike with a Chinese couple. It turned out to be a great way to learn more about Chinese culture and their way of sightseeing. From the Chinese city of Tashkugan, the only way to Pakistan leads through one of the highest border crossings on earth, at 4,700 meters above sea level, and it must be crossed by bus. Well, after all this crazy process of crossing the border, riding with the bus, my luggage being checked, here we are, Pakistan. Now I just have to get used to riding on the left side of the road. I spent another 2 weeks in Pakistan. I met amazing people, cycled along the famous Karakorum highway, experienced the crazy jeep ride to Nanga Parbat base camp, and visited some of the oldest cities on earth. No other country has impressed me as much as Pakistan. The people, the views, the food, and the culture will stay with me forever. This story is definitely worth another video.